It's a great day. My name is Che Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we are on a mission. And our mission really is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission really is to provide you, that's right, you, the entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this episode, we have the one and only Cheryl Stabler. She's in the business, and she's going to be talking about, well, turning passion into purpose, but not stopping there, but turning purpose into impact. Is that even possible? We'll find out. What's going on, Cheryl? How you doing?
I am great. How are you today?
Good.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It is an honor and a privilege. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. You have a lot of choices, so we appreciate you being here, especially during these, I'll say, challenging times we're living in these days. So let's get started. Some folks are looking at the title. It's got their attention. They'll figure out how famous you are later. They might have already Googled you, but they might be wondering, Shay, here you are talking about purpose and passion again. Cheryl, I hope this is a fair question. What is your definition of purpose? What does it look like? And what does it even feel like these days?
Well, purpose is when you can wake up every day, when God allows you to open your eyes and you are getting up and diving into that which makes you feel good, that makes you feel like I am doing something to change the world. And it's not work, but when it's fun, and when it's exciting and when it drives you to help community and those around you, it's truly your purpose.
If that's truly their purpose, which I like, take a moment. And now we got passion. So, okay. And I've always been confused. I'll be honest with you. People say, find your purpose, walk in your passion. No, find your passion, walk in your purpose. I just get so confused. And it's just me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the only one out there like that. Okay. I went to DC public school, so don't judge a brother over here. But take a moment, if you would, and give us a definition of passion. And then when you do that, ladies and gentlemen, she can handle a 2-part question. How is passion different than purpose?
For me, passion makes your heart smile. So when I am talking to clients or when I am walking in my regular work day, every bit of it is joy. Every bit of it is like, oh, I love doing this. There's no blockage as far as time. It's 7 days a week sometimes, because for me, it's like a vacation. It's truly something that I love to do. And when you love to do it, I grew up serving community. So this is a blend of working in technology, which has always been my baby. I worked for years, 10 years in serving legendary music artists. So I've been in the entertainment field. And now my business is a blend of all of everything that I have done. I am walking into almost 60 years of age and truly enjoying my passion in this one place, building business and serving people.
I love it, by the way. Congratulations, by the way. I have my AARP card too. Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm 57. I'm not too far behind, but I hope God allows me to see that big 6. Oh, I can't wait. Yeah. But let me get serious for the person who's watching and saying, Shay, I like this, but why are people struggling? I mean, she said passion makes your heart flutter. And she said purpose is you get up doing what you want to do. Well, here in at least these United States of America, you get to make choices. You get to do whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. So my question is, and then we'll get into more of her background in a minute, ladies and gentlemen, but why are people struggling these days to really walk and live in their purpose? What's some things that's holding them back?
Well, I think there's 2 things. I wrote a book called The Unshakable Woman, 10 Steps in Walking in Your God-Given Purpose. And in my coaching, I have found that 2 things hold people back. One is fear. One is fear of truly doing what you want to do. And the other is not being totally healed in wherever you are in life. Sometimes grief holds us back. Sometimes finances holds us back. Sometimes lack of knowledge and education. And so that the grief and the fear of, can I really do it? Am I smart enough to do it? Will people trust me as an expert in that space, especially if it's new? And some people are just scared to walk into that which is new and see what's on the other side of it. And I always share that story about Will Smith when he first jumped out of um, his helicopter.
Mhm.
And well, it was one of those planes that he was jumping out of. And he says, I was standing there, and when I jumped out, it was amazing as I'm coming down. And when I got on the ground, I said, what took me so long? And I tell people that story. You're going to be on the other side and you're going to say, what took me so long to get there? There was nothing to be fearful about. But when you don't learn how to get past grief, fear, and things that are difficult, and if you don't have a mentor to help you pivot, some people kind of stay stuck.
Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to let her leave you hanging with staying stuck. We're going to ask her in a minute what are three things you can do to get unstuck. She might have four. She might give us a bonus. But before we do that, you started giving us a little tid back into your backstory. Take a
Mhm.
moment, if you would, and we'll get a little more clarity in your backstory and who you are. What was a little more of your backstory? That'd be question number one. And number two, what was that defining moment that you knew in your heart that you was born to serve and help other people?
Hmm. Well, I had that defining moment twice. Once when I was a little girl and I used to visit the state of California every summer. And I grew up in a family with attorneys and judges and a state Supreme Court judge, who was my grandmother's brother. And I said, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to build houses in Mexico and I'm going to serve community. Well, I got a one-way ticket after being at Ohio State and went to California, started working immediately, got married, was married for 27 years. And when my ex left, here I was in this place. And I decided to get up, wipe my face off, and get into that place where I was, where I used to dream as a little girl, right? And I just prayed for God to open up the doors, and He opened up the doors for me to meet some amazing, brilliant young people. And it was a collaboration of everything that I've done my entire life, and that is the company that I run now. And I
Wow.
learned I learned how to just dip into being a little girl again. I would tell women I started riding my bike again during the pandemic. I jumped rope. I went and bought a hula hoop. Go do and dream those things that you used to dream about when you were younger. What was it that lit your fire and made you smile when you said, when I get bigger, I want to be a, what is that? And for me, it was serving people. And I literally started in the field of international business. But I'm a computer geek, and I had turned to computer science as my major. But I said just the other day, I'm in that field of international business. Although that is not my field of study, I'm still there. I just went around a whole different way.
I love what you said, and I love how you said it. I guess the question I would say is, before we get into three ways people can get unstuck,
Mm,
how are you able to do things and still be fearful? There's some folks that are listening right now and say, wow, Shay, she said she just went and did it. Now, sometimes people think they've got to, you know, have the courage to go do something. But you said, no, I went and did hula loop. No, I went and did this. No, I went and did things. When the fear is there and you're nervous because if you fail, people are going to look at you kind of funny, or you're like, well, I
mhm,
got a reputation, I got to be careful. The question I'm asking, ladies and gentlemen, is how are you able to take action in the
mhm,
face of fear or uncertainty? Because you're very
mhm,
calculated, you're doing some very smart things. How are you able to do that?
mhm, mhm. Well, it's going to sound a little funny, but this is what I coach. So, ladies, get ready. Um, it is getting naked. During the pandemic, when I was getting through marriage, trying to find myself again, trying to get my self esteem back together, one day I got in front of the mirror and I got out of bed. naked. And I started speaking over my life from my head to my eyes to my lips to my shoulders to my breasts, all the way down. And I've spoken to ladies and they're like, I can't get naked. And I said, not until I got raw naked every day. And one day, months later, it took me about 6 months, I got in front of that mirror and I'm like, you are a badass. But it took me a minute to get there. And you really have to get raw with yourself. When you believe that you could jump mountains, when you can jump out of planes, and when you can walk into any room and tell your story without opening your mouth, that's what gets you naked does. And, I've never shared that with a man. But I just shared that with a group, a ministry in Mississippi, and the ladies have been calling me since then, like, I'm getting naked every day. And they're very quiet. But by the time you really just love yourself and every inch of yourself, and you're speaking love and affirmations every single morning, looking at yourself naked. And for women, that's, some of us got saggy breasts that don't pop up anymore, and we got cellulite and whatever. But if you do it every day, it changes your mindset about who you are to yourself and who you are to the world.
I like that. Who
Yeah.
you are to yourself and who you are to the world.
Yeah.
As you're talking now, as someone is listening saying, Shay, she's impressive. She's able to do a whole lot of things. And I'm curious, how did she juggle it all? And can you let her know who we are, Shay? Sure, I'll let her know. The audience is listening. Many of these folks are dualpreneurs that are watching right now. They work a full-time job and they're a full-time entrepreneur. Where I'm going is, how do you juggle all of this and take care of yourself, which you were just talking about? They say, Shay, let her know I'm a husband, or let her know I'm a wife. Someone's saying, let her know I'm a caregiver, like you and I. Someone else is saying, wait a minute,
Yeah.
will you also let her know that my kids have a schedule, so I got to go to my kids' schedule. Oh, by the way, I'm also involved in the community. Someone saying, hey, Shay, I'm
Yeah.
involved in the church. Someone else is saying, Shay, I'm going back to school. Someone else has a list this long. And they're like, you ain't got to my stuff yet, Shay. The question that I
Yeah.
have for you is, how are you able to manage all the different things you're involved in and still take care of yourself without feeling guilty? And I know that's a loaded question, ladies. This is not a therapy session we're having, but I'm curious what her thoughts are.
Yeah. I've learned to schedule time. Literally, go into my Gmail calendar. I first schedule time for myself. For example, today my nurse was here with my mother who has dementia. And so she's here for a 4-hour block. The first 2 hours of that block, I get out the house. I exercise. I schedule time for myself every single day. That's one. I am an ordained minister. I wake up in prayer, and some days I wake up in ministry and serving others. But I schedule time for myself. I schedule out my days. I'm very careful with my boundaries and who I spend time with. So I don't answer the phone for everyone, right? And I schedule time for my business, for my mom with dementia, and most importantly, I schedule time for my goals. So I think one of the most important things I learned during the pandemic was, if I've got 3 big goals, I need to see at least 30 minutes to an hour on my calendar every day of me working on that goal that I said I'm going to have for this year. Yeah. And it takes some practice. I've got 2 laptops. So one laptop, I just keep open my schedule. So I'm always looking at it now. And it took a while to get there. But I schedule the time for me, my business, my mother, ministry, Bible study, whatever it is. And most importantly, my goals. Because some of us get halfway through the year and we've made these vision boards and these dreams, and you haven't spent any time doing it. You're scrolling on Facebook. Are you spending too much time there? So I had to take a look at where my time was going. My cousin taught me something so very valuable. She's a psychiatrist in LA. And she helped me get there. And she says, okay, look at the last 30 days. How much time are you spending in emails? How often are you going there? Are you opening Facebook? Are you opening Instagram? Are you scrolling? Where is your wasted time? So now let's put your wasted time in a small bucket at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. Make it make sense, because it's not making you money and it's not moving you towards your goals. So calendaring is the best advice that I can give for anyone who is listening.
And what I like about that, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't take a fancy app right now. She didn't say go buy some $10,000 program. She said just use your calendar, have a list. First things first, second things never. I mean, I don't know. I'm just giving the Shay Brown remix version on this, but I love it, by the way. Now, don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to let her forget. For those folks that said, Shay, don't forget us now. She said she's going to give us 3 ways we can get unstuck, 3 ways to help us move forward to our passion. Don't forget us. Yes. I'm ready. I'm feeling her energy. I like what I'm hearing. Yes. But I find myself stuck, Shay, and I do want to move toward my purpose. I do want to move towards my passion. Again, this is a loaded question because many of you are different places and different spaces. Okay, we understand that, but she's going to do her best. So do you have 3, maybe 1, 2, 3? She might give you a bonus. I don't know. Ideas that can help
I'll
folks
give you 3.
Move. 2, you said?
3. I'll give you 3.
She got 3.
3
real cool.
Points.
Let's hear these 3. Take it away.
Number 1, find a life coach or a purpose coach that will hold you accountable for at least 3 months. Someone who is really going to hold you accountable and have you do the work of getting unstuck, washing your face, getting up and doing the work every single day. I coach a number of women in the music industry, the young ladies, to help them move from one spot to another. So find your coach. 2, find your mentor. Find someone in your industry or that person who you just admire. I am grateful to have a mentor since age 5, who is one of the largest motivational speakers in the world, who is also my advisor. That is my go-to when I have to get some information, or if I just need some encouragement, or if I need a push. But you always need a mentor to help you navigate. Find someone who is smarter than you to help you navigate. 3.
Mentor. Go ahead. Keep going.
3, as Miles Monroe says, the richest place in the world is the cemetery. Die empty. There are too many books that are never written. There is music that is never heard. There is poetry that is never read. There are dreams that have never become reality. So when God opens your eyes every single day, know that you've got another chance to birth that God has placed in you. So when you go to the cemetery, you won't go as an old person. You will die empty and know that you've gotten everything out of you that you were called to give to community while you were here.
I love it, man. I love it. And you talked about Les Brown, talked about a lot of things that you're doing. I think it's a perfect segue to a segment that we have here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. In fact, you can go ahead and say those magical words right now. Today is my January 1st. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. This is so exciting, by the way. And for all the new folks who are tuning in for the very first time, I want to welcome you to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. Thanks for allowing us to broadcast onto your mobile device or onto your phone, or maybe you listen to the podcast right now. However you're listening, we appreciate you. Today is my January 1st is our personal mantra here at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is, the past no longer really equals the future. And so my question to the one and only Cheryl on the other side is really twofold. We're going to find out if she had any challenges. Number one, when you hear those words, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? And number two, what was another setback you had in your life, a challenge? And how were you able to bounce back and continue to pursue your passion and purpose?
January 1st, 7:05 a.m. I got a message that I want to share with every person here. And that message simply was from my mentor. Your voice is still needed in the world. Don't give up. Your voice is needed. So when I found myself after 27 years of marriage starting over with grown children and having left corporate America and a stay-at-home mother for 20 years, I said, what's next? Fortunately, I saw my mentor that week. And I decided to get up, wash my face, and start going out into community. And that is where I had met a few people in business and not doing the business that I wanted particularly to do. But I said, I'm going to keep you around because you're a great business person. So surround yourself with people who will make you grow. And those same people were the people who helped me birth my firm, Just Faith TV. Don't give up. Your voice is still needed in this world.
I love it, by the way. And boy, how magical is that? As you're speaking now, there's a book you've written that I love called Unshakable Woman. And as you were talking about what you've gone through, take a moment. And ladies and gentlemen, I know this has nothing to do with purpose and passion, but she's such a dynamic person. I'm curious, and you may be curious, what's the backstory behind Unshakable Woman? And what does Unshakable represent? When I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can read this too, right? Unshakable Woman. What's the backstory behind that? And who's the book for? And ladies and gentlemen, she'll tell you later how to get the book and all that stuff. But I just want to talk about this for a moment because it really caught my attention.
Yeah. And actually, the same week that this new journey started for me, I went to UCLA to hear my mentor speak. And after he spoke, he said, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. My husband left. And he's like, what you going to do? I said, I'm going to write a book. He said, okay, I'm going to write your foreword. And he said, everybody in this room, come over here and give her your number. And that's one thing I've learned about him is collaboration is key to do anything globally, right? And that Sunday I went to church in Valencia, California, and the pastor spoke on the story of Daniel, Meshach, Abednego, and I call myself the other Negro. Because I saw myself in that story coming out on the other side, unscathed, through the fire, unscathed and unshakable. And that particular day, I started writing that I am unshakable. I'm God's favorite. I'm the apple of his eye. And I am a Christian book publisher. And this was my second book. And she says, well, what are you going to do for marketing this time? I says, well, there's these things called podcasts that are out. How about I create a podcast? And so my flesh said, I'm doing it for marketing. And after the very first 5 podcasts, I said, this is ministry. There's so many women out there who are like me, not necessarily going through divorce, but going through abuse, going through financial difficulty, cancer. There were so many stories. And we're now in season 6. And for 5 years, we talked about healing what you've gone through in order for God to launch you into your God-given purpose. And that is the unshakable woman. That is really recognizing where your gifts are, do the healing, do the work, collaborate, find that little girl in you, and launch out into the world with your gifts that God has given you. Because you are unshakable. You can shake anything off, but you can't always do it by yourself. But you have the strength to do it.
Powerful. I love it. One of
Mhm.
my questions I get to ask when we have a few minutes, we have a couple of minutes now, is what's one of the best pieces of advice you've ever been given? And I love to frame it for the audience so they're kind of clear that
Mm.
you've read more books than you can remember these days. In terms of video, I always say that I don't even track the number of video hours anymore. 10,000 hours, that's kind of like a joke, by the way, these days, because you can watch video for more than 10,000 hours pretty quickly. But in all seriousness, of all the mentors you've had, what's one of the
Mhm.
best pieces of advice you've ever been given, and what is it, and why is it so important to you?
Hmm. Well, I think the best advice I've ever given was from my first mentor, my mother. I just shared this story with a young lady who was running for a U.S. House seat um, for the U.S. government, District 62, in here in Florida. And her son said to her, "Mommy, when you stood on that stage, you didn't introduce me." And I said to her, "You don't have to introduce him." My mother was assistant to the president at Ohio State University, and early in life, she got divorced, so she had to drag me to all these meetings. I was in rooms at the age of 5 and 6 with presidents of Big Ten universities. And I remember the very first woman that I met, my mother would whisper in my ear and say, "That's Dr. Shalala over Wisconsin. Go over and say hello." Um, and so I went over, shook her hand. "Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm Cheryl. I said my maiden name. I'm Joan's daughter. Nice to meet you. Tell me about your school." And then she would say, "Okay, that's such and such, president of Michigan or president of Indiana." And what I learned from that is my mom taught me how to walk in rooms and be okay with who I was. And that was a game changer when I became an executive at the Los Angeles Times, because I did not see myself as a young Black woman. I saw myself as a young, smart woman who had the opportunity and the courage to talk to anybody in the room and manage anybody in the room. And her being my first mentor, that was such a valuable lesson that has been with me through my lifetime. And I've carried that on with my children who have gone to very diverse universities and have diverse friends. And the world doesn't just look like us. The world. I grew up my kids in Los Angeles, so Los Angeles is a very diverse place, and so it was important for me to share with my children, when you go to school, be friends with everyone, because when you go into a corporation, everybody's not going to look like you. You're going to have to understand how to walk in rooms and be dynamic with every single person in the room. And if I can gift that to anyone, share that with your children. Take them with you. My dream of working in information technology was birthed in Haggerty Hall when I was 10 years old, looking at mainframes with my mother while she was doing commencement. And I'm just wondering, what are these big machines with these cards with these holes in it? And it birthed my curiosity for information technology. So whether you are single, whether you are married, take the kids out of those games. Take them to work with you every once in a while. Take them in the streets with you to help serve the hungry and the poor and those who are in need. Um, that connection of my mom being my first mentor is very, very close to my heart. And I wish that for every parent who is here listening to that, because we are our children's first mentor. And sometimes we birth things in them that the world cannot do.
Well said. When you're not out saving the world, making changes like you just did just now, shout out to your mom, by the way. What do you do for fun?
Oh, I walk with my dog a lot.
What kind of dog?
Um, I have a Yorkie poo. I have a
Ooh.
Yorkie poo, and I love the beach. And so I love going to the water and just kicking around in the water. I don't ride my bike as much because, again, I'm with my mother 24/7. So I usually take her with me. And so right now I'm exploring community. I'm looking into renting a motorhome and traveling the South so she can see some of her cousins. And right now, I'm really enjoying just learning about Tampa, planning my roots here, and I just aligned with a brand new organization to serve after winning the Miss Corporate America Miss Tampa crown. And the organization that I'm aligning with provides transitional homes for men and women, and they feed the hungry. And that is what I did back in Los Angeles. So my mother and I are going to feed the hungry tomorrow together. So that's my extra time. That's what makes me smile.
I love it, by the way. As we come down the home stretch, two-part question. Number one, what type of clients is your firm looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks best connect with you? How can they stay in this conversation over and beyond the day? Where should they go? How should they hang out with you?
Oh, well, we just signed a deal with an amazing African festival. And what we take on to Just Faith TV are independent faith creators around the globe: Asia, UK, Europe, Africa, Mexico, Canada. We are launching just this month from a little bit of content to overwhelming content in time for Resurrection Sunday. We have been scaling and we are excited about the growth that is taking place starting next week. So, independent creators do not always necessarily have a place to place their content. I'm working with a number of film festivals now, including the Christian Film Festival out of Orlando, and speaking with film directors and giving their award winning films a place for distribution. We also do live content, and we are creating new space soon for some of the top speaking teachers in the faith space. That is coming up soon, but we are also entertaining podcasts and some live music events. So we have a lot of content coming on. You can find me at Just Faith TV, and you can DM me or send me a message at Cheryl Lynn Stabler at LinkedIn or Instagram. And on those profiles, you can also find my email address as well.
Well, let me say thank you so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show. I know you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. And you give us the most precious resource you have, which is your time. So thank you so much. Can't wait to connect with you again soon.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast. I love the program. I love the platform. You are doing some great work. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in, by the way, because without you, well, we don't have a show, by the way. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of this. I know you have a lot of choices out there, and I never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you've been hit with that punch that you never saw coming, or you're off to another level, like you're going up. One thing I do believe, no matter what's happening in your life, that today, on this day, is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, my name is Che Brown. It hasn't changed. Still the same person, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. God bless. Wish you success. And we'll see you all on the other side. Peace, everybody. We out of here. Bye-bye.